All right. So last week we did positioning on the field. We're going to go over counts and things like that and penalty enforcement. We also went off for Crease was Mr. Nairmore, who was excellent. And then reminder, the clinic is this Sunday. It's early. It hopefully get you out by noon, so that way you can go still do family time or other Sunday items. It is at the CIAC headquarters in Cheshire, Connecticut. If you type in CIAC headquarters or Connecticut Association of Interscholastic Athletics or whatever it is, it'll come up, and it's 30 Realty Drive. This is how I personally do for games, going to a game. I know this is a little extra, but I send everybody a Google map of where we are, so I start the training with the same thing. The entrance, it is a split level building, so it's really tough to see here, but when you come in, you're going to come down a long driveway, and then this short driveway, this eastern side goes down to the ground floor, and this goes up to the top floor, so to speak. And so the entrance is going to be at this yellow. There's very limited parking. If you walked in the building, you could then take the stairs. You could also walk around. There's additional parking up by either blue X, including the lot that is right across this little mini road. So just as an idea, you type in 30 Realty Drive, it'll put you at this blue X, but yellow X is where we're going to enter. That's down the slope. And if there's no spots, you come a little bit late, fine, right here. We'd encourage you, you don't have to be right at 8, but get closer to 8 versus 8:30 if you can. If you need to go visit the vendor, and again, that's blow your whistle, so it'll be a shop to buy everything from flags to whistles. If you want to try on pants, a bunch of you have texted me, keep doing that. You asked about sizes and things like that. It's a great chance to take a look at things and try stuff on and get a feel for things before you buy. Questions on clinic, vendor, all that good stuff?
You mentioned there was the stripes available for the clinic. Are we in full uniform, or are we?
No, we generally say like business casual, but again, if you wear a hoodie, we're not going to kick you out by any stretch of the imagination. Just normal casual attire, just look not straight pajamas. Is that a good dress code? Essentially what everybody's wearing on. I know I'm wearing a hoodie, but just normal, fine, not real stripes. We will have you as new officials. You're going to go up with both Fred and Dick, and maybe a few other officials might go up with you too, but you're going to go over a crease and see a crease. He tapes a crease on the floor upstairs. We also have a face-off station. Some of our officials will go over face-off stations as well, and then if there's time, we'll have you throw a flag and blow a whistle and do signs and signals and stuff like that. Just something to get you out of the Zoom world and out of when we just do talk and discussion, to physically see something, just to change the pedagogy, so to speak. So the way of teaching, and to have a visual way of doing it, if that makes sense.
The Rainbow Graphics stuff is being delivered there?
Should be, yes. I do not have confirmation yet. Nairmore and Vernon, if you could just remind me, I got to ask Hackett.
John Hackett brings the stuff typically to the clinic, so you can look for him when you get there.
He usually has everything bagged out. We'll have bagels, coffee, things like that as well. So if you want to bring a light breakfast, you can. We'll have waters too, but if you want to bring stuff, you're more than welcome to eat. Again, it's a long day, so snacks and sandwiches and stuff also generally make an appearance out of people's bags. So all good. Bring your rule book, bring a pen, pencil. If you use an iPad, most people don't bring laptops, but if you bring like an iPad or you use your phone for notes, we're good with that, whatever you prefer.
And we'll have the rule
book in a whole other country. I assume I can use the iOS version while I'm at the clinic, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
We'll have the rule books too, Rob. We'll hand those out.
Yeah. If you don't have them too, so we'll get you covered. If you just bring yourself, we'll make it work. We promise you. If you bring extra, great. All right, so that's that. We'll dive right into it. So the homework, so to speak, just in terms of if you looked at it, and again, we'll kind of go into these two bottom symbols. I know these are football, so there's just the fingers are a little different. I know that sounds an odd thing to be picky about. We kind of do full hands, if that makes sense, versus one fingers or fists a lot of times. We kind of go hands. And then the other big thing, I will pay tribute to Eric Evans out of Vermont, who's an absolute legend and former Olympian as well, of Mr. Holub, your thumb needs to be tucked in. And so that is continually in my brain from 10 years ago. So tuck your thumb in. It looks cleaner when you point than out here. I had a couple pictures of them out and they look terrible, but fingers go together. Thumb gets tucked in, as Mr. Naramore said too, and maybe you will also have Mr. Evans's voice. He sounds like Wink Martindale if you're a big game show host kind of guy. Like his voice is in my brain continuously about Mr. Hullub, your thumb. Right? Fantastic. So when we point, we do a lot of, again, yellow light means we're not ready or we're stopping the clock, and we point when we're ready to play. And that is most often a communication for us as partners of, hey, I'm not ready, or hey, I'm ready. And whenever we want to blow a whistle, we generally want to look over and see that. In routine scenarios, we might not necessarily see that, meaning the ball goes out of bounds on a shot and it gets brought back in. You will see when you watch college games a lot of the times, because there's 3 officials, you will see the official that we call single side, or is closer to the net as the official is bringing the ball back in at a restart, will actually point and continually give that good, because he'll check the field, make sure nothing's awry, and give his partner just one more nonverbal. So all he has to do is look over to him real quick and we're good. So it's that continual nonverbal that goes on to help out, so we're not missing anything. First one should be easy, and I'm going to ask you guys to just unmute and call out. Feel free to answer whichever one you want. But where do we restart a goal? A goal happens. What do we do?
Bring it back to X for face-off.
Face-off.
Easy, right? We weren't trying to trick you. We're just trying to go over all of them. So the first one's easy. Every time we have a goal, we have to have a face-off. Scenarios where we might in terms of a penalty, but just a straight regular goal, we're going to a face-off. We have a time-serving foul. Where does the restart go?
If the offense keeps it outside the box.
Yep. And let's say the offense lost the ball. They're getting the man up, and they're in their defensive half. Where does the restart go?
Is it on the offensive
Midfield.
side?
Yep. We bring them up and we put them to the face-off X on their half of the field. Awesome. Question on that one? Good.
Rob, one quick question. Just if and I'm thinking lose possession on the offensive half in the middle of the restraining area, in the middle of the box. Is that kind of like our discretion? Like, let's say it's like dead center. Is that like our discretion in terms of where it starts?
In terms of,
like,
we had a foul?
Like, yeah, there's again, time serving foul, like literally like between, GLE and the top of restraining. It's like literally kind of like, or it's right in front of the crease. Like, is that just our discretion on where we talk that out?
Yep. So we always try to go lateral if we can to that point. Technically, it's the spot closest to when the whistle sounds. So they could start here. I generally will move them to a corner or back them out, especially in high school. There's obviously a potential disadvantage, right? Or if you're talking about prep school or college, because those people know how to shoot from that distance. In high school, you usually create more chaos if you put them in those spots. And that's why I recommend that, where again, we're not trying to disadvantage somebody, but again, things are slow. They're not really paying attention to that same point on the restart. We'll always call to the goalie if we can. It's not mandated, but we'll tell the goalie where the ball is, because we don't want it to be a safety issue of same thing. We blow a whistle, all of a sudden the person shoots and hits the goalie without them paying attention, if that makes sense.
And if it's right in the middle, pick the wing that you like best.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, and the very last point on that too is if a player, the same thing to your point, if it's like in the crease, the ball, right, and they say, hey, I want it on this side, give them the ball, right? don't argue. Say, well, no, it was technically 3 inches over to your point, it's over. Hey, sir, can I get it on this side? Sure. Obviously, if they are confident enough to ask for it, or they know they're going to start with the ball, or if they already have a play, if they're upper level, they're going to run, a lefty rotation versus a righty rotation. Just give them the ball. It's not overly worried. Usually it takes you 10 minutes to get somebody to find the ball because nobody wants it, right? And so it's usually a shot occurs, valid shot. We're in the offensive half. Let's say we're on this right side where my mouse is, and it's retained by the offense. Where does the ball restart?
Where it went out of bounds.
Yeah. And Dave, I'll give you the second one. A shot is awarded to the defense.
Same thing. Where it went out of bounds.
Easy peasy.
Yes.
Loose ball push. Where do we restart?
In the offensive zone? Out in the alley?
We'll give one more guess.
It's roughly where it occurred, and
yes,
get 5 yards. Give them 5 yards, and
correct. So it's where the whistle sounds is where we're bringing the ball back to, right? So that's why sometimes you'll see, right, if there's an offsides is a good one, right? But that's what I'm going to kind of get in there. But loose ball push, we bring it back to where the foul occurred because, again, our play on is short. We're going to go through that tonight of what a play on is. It's very unique to lacrosse. Some sports have it, but really unique to us. And so we're going to bring it back to that spot. If the ball kind of dribbles out a little bit, they can go where the whistle sounds. Similar to, I'm going to give the answer on and offsides. It takes us time to figure out that it's offsides. So often a coach will argue that they want the ball at the midline, but if it takes us, the players go over and the ball goes down here, and that's where we blow the offsides. We give them to them where that play ended. So it seems like a disadvantage that we're making them clear the ball, but that's when we realize the foul occurred. So that's where the restart occurs.
Where the ball is when you blew the whistle. And over and back, we'll talk about slightly different, but in general, where the ball is when you killed the play, assuming that, you had to kill the loose ball push play because the play on didn't continue.
So good guesses. And poor Ty, I heard your upward inflection at the end of your answer, meaning it's a little bit of a question. You weren't certain about it, and I liked it. And then to that point, if it is an offense, we cannot start in the goal area. So if we have a push behind the net, we need to bring the ball out laterally to one of these alleys. They can't start in that area. As John said with over and back, again, that ball might scoot down. Let's say it's rolling at a pretty good velocity. It's a line violation, meaning once it really touches over the line and is on that zone, so to speak, it is now a foul. The offense gets it. To that point, we're going to make them get back to the midline without being next to the midline. We don't want to overly disadvantage of them. If it is a quick play where the attackman does grab it, let's say is at the end of the wing line, which is 10 yards, and he runs 5 yards in, I think we're good. That attackman has made an effort to stop going to the net and has come back and has stopped. Let's get him going because he does want to get those 2 or 3 extra strides in because that is his advantage and he's entitled to that. What we don't want is the ball being picked up on the restraining line. He takes 1 step towards the midline, says, "Sir, I'm ready," and then he wants to go. We're going to chase him back. And again, as the restart, the new lead wants to run in and cover the goal because that's our responsibility. And the trail official should be blowing them in. And again, that trail official needs to be heads up of, I got to motor a little bit to at least get towards that wing line so I can yell and be, hey, towards me, and I'm not still down a goal line extended. We don't want to be 60 yards away saying, come back a step. But if we move ourselves up the field, as we continually talked about in the last sessions, just like on a shot, if we migrate down, right, and if we migrate up on an over and back, it looks a lot better if that back official is at least towards the restraining line versus at the goal line. It doesn't sound like a lot, but 20 yards, but as a coach, I'm saying, I'm ready, and the guy's not paying attention 20 yards outside of where he's supposed to be, or 40 yards. It's really bad to argue of, I'm waiting on my partner, versus, coach, he's chugging along. He's going to get there. We're going to wait for him, right? Make sense on those?
Yes.
One last comment on number
Yeah.
5. We didn't mention this. Loose ball push where the defense is awarded the ball in their defensive
Ooh,
box.
good one. Yes.
They can restart right there, anywhere within the box, right where the ball is. And if it's in the crease, the goalie or another player can start there as well. So it's the offense that can never restart inside the offensive box. The defense can restart in their defensive box.
Team timeout by the defense. Where did we restart?
Spot of the ball.
Spot of the ball when we blew the whistle for the timeout, right? Again, you need possession, but if it is an out of bounds, right? Or this is a rules difference of if we have any type of foul that occurs, the defense can call a timeout any point within that dead ball, and they're good. And so we'd restart it to the relative position of where the ball was when the timeout occurred. And it would simply be the offense's ball, even though the defense called timeout. If
And
we
remember
flip
that-
it, oh, go ahead.
Just one comment, the defense can only call timeout in a dead ball, right? They can't call a
Correct.
timeout in a live ball.
Correct. So then flip it, offense, anywhere in the field, different than college, anywhere in the field they can call a timeout. They call a timeout. They have the ball, let's say, I don't know where my mouse went, right here. Where do they get the ball?
Spot of the ball again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
spot on. Dave's my where the ball is guy. I like it. Start of the third quarter, start of the second half. Where do we restart?
Face off.
Yeah, not a trick question. I promise you. Nothing wonky going on in these examples. These are run of the mill, what occurs. So at the start of every quarter, we always start with a face-off. Unless we have that time-serving penalty, we're not there yet. Face-off violation. Where do we restart the ball?
Center X.
At the X.
And what's part 2?
Everyone's not released. Everyone's got to stay inside. the
Good.
box.
And then
Like,
and part
attackable.
3,
They don't exactly have to be at X if they're claiming the ball and someone else can take it other than the faceoff guy to restart.
they should be on their what side of the
Offensive
field? Yep, there you go. So
Offensive.
we want, yep, awesome job. We got all of them. It's super awesome on that. So we want when there's a face-off violation, meaning it occurs either pre-whistle or because of the actual face-off, we want them on their, we want them to step over the midline on their offensive half, right? They get the ball. Anybody can pick it up who's involved in the face-off, any of the wing guys or the face-off guy. And to Mike's point, the face-off has not concluded, so everybody's still restrained behind the lines. So as if I am the face-off official, and let's say we're going to the right of the screen, I'm going to quickly turn and say, not released, back. I just yell back in, not released. The lead gets down to goal line, can yell. Normally when the ball's coming in there, you don't jump over, but might remind him to no release. And then I'll say step over. He steps over. I have my hand up, and then we wind in. So it's usually a pretty rhythmic, once you get used to it, of guy jumps, tweet, hey, down. Okay, fix the lean, set, tweet. White ball, we jumped, white ball. Hey, no release, step over, go, right? It's a lot of stuff. And again, you'll get in the rhythms of it, but you get into those cadences of realizing all the 15 things you got to do before you reset it to that point.
When Rob talks,
Rob,
Yeah.
go ahead, John.
when Rob
Okay.
talks about a
Yep.
face-off violation and the team that's getting the ball is going to take it as one step over past the X, he's referring to a face-off violation that occurs prior to the whistle or while the ball's still at the spot. If the ball scoots away and then you have a violation on one of the face-off players, like a hold or a push or something like that,
Yeah.
you're going to restart where the ball is when you killed it.
You're
And
both go ahead.
and Rob to define what that area is. I tell in the youth training, I define that basically as a 3-yard circle. Is the face-off area, right? As
So
opposed
yes,
to
so
just the
Yep.
spot. Yeah.
You two are excellent. You're keeping me on because I was going to go perfect.
Okay.
What we do, so in college, we have gotten really strict about it because the guy can no longer face off in college. So it is really at our level of NCAA that have to be engaged in the face off, meaning something that has occurred during a clamp or directly after a clamp or a rake. It has to be really involved. So you will see the symbol on TV. We do this thing, we say away, and we open 2 gates and we say it's away. So if it's away, we start the ball where it was, and if it was in, we don't say anything. And so that thought, I agree, in high school, we'll sometimes give him a little bit, like he takes that step to get the ball out, and he kind of gets his foot held onto and trips. We might consider that a face-off violation. Again, we're not chasing the guy off in high school, so it doesn't technically matter, if that makes sense. That's why we're more stringent in college, because there's an additional disadvantage of that player cannot come out for the same face-off. So we are very stringent on it has to be within the engage or it's away. And so, again, you'll see more and more. That just came in this year. You'll see a lot of that on TV where all of a sudden a guy does this, and it's just like, and we're all immediately thinking, okay, we're away and we're not reporting it, if that makes sense. So I try to bring that in as you're watching TV games. It's things you might see and why the little subtle differences. And John already said it, so I'll just go for time-wise. The no goal on the crease violation is the goalie can start directly inside the crease if he likes. If the defenseman gets it just out and wants to start it, that's fine. Also, again, in something like youth, just as a reminder, we said this last week, we might want to go to the alley, especially if that goalie is very, very challenged. And you know what I mean by that. We're not making fun of that goalie, but again, we've all been in, U10 games, and that goalie is just playing goalie for the first time ever and can't hold the ball. Don't make him throw a pass out of his crease. Just say, hey, defenseman, it's your ball. And the goalie goes, oh, it's mine. Defenseman, it's your ball, and you're going to walk over here with me, please. Right? And then everybody's happy, and we can get the game moving, and we don't get that goalie upset. Sound good on those? Questions on those?
And that's normally a fast restart, correct?
Yes. We can go, the biggest thing, as we say, we want fast, not quick, right? I know that sounds ridiculous that we say that, but we don't want to be overly quick of, oh my goodness, crease, blow it, good, right? We want fast, meaning we do need everybody 5 yards away, including their own team. He can be nobody within 5 yards of him. So we want to give that second, especially on a crease violation. The number one thing is we try to want to get that attackman out of there. Even if they want to go quick, we don't want him laying at his feet, is what I mean by that, right? And then we want the other defenseman out of there as well. They need a 5 yard buffer of all the players. We can technically start it with an offensive player within that bubble. As long as he doesn't engage in the play, we don't have a penalty on that player. But to that same point, it's the same thing in the boxes. We want to be a little overly cautious, especially if people are at the goalie's feet. We don't want somebody on the ground because they can be injured, or that goalie goes to step and throw and plants right on that kid and twists his ankle. We could have prevented that by waiting literally a 1 Mississippi sometimes. And you can look at them. I'll kind of look at them and go, wait, and then I blow as I'm yelling, wait, sometimes. And so it's kind of understanding where it is. Nobody's within that realm, and the guy picks it right up because the player ran through the crease and is now at the back of the goal celebrating, and you go, no, we have crease, and that goalie's got the ball, blow it in. We're good to go. Super good question. Any others on these? Awesome job. All right. We're going to introduce a new one of the ones that we skipped, but this helps in then explaining technical fouls. So in the high school level, we have the two blues are going to be college or NCAA. In the high school, we have timing counts. So again, if you're basketball, think about your timeline, so to speak. And so ours is going to be 20 seconds. That's what our beeper is for. Usually when the goalie gets the ball or the defense gets the ball, we're going to do a 4-second goalie count for the goalie to get outside of the crease, and we're going to flip on the buzzer beforehand, So we kind of do a change of possession. In college, you'll see us do a shot clock, right? And you'll still see us do it as college guys in the high school season because we're just in our muscle memory. And so you'll see our arm go up as a change of possession. We then flip the beeper, and then we start the 4 count. And the reason why I say it in that order, we don't want the 4 to be a real 4. We want it to be a long 4. And so give the goalie a chance to they just stopped the shot, maybe 80 miles per hour. Give them a second to pay attention to what's going on, survey the field, get out of the crease, right? If it's really young, 10U, 8U, remind them, goalie, get out of the crease. Goalie, start moving. Hey, goalie, run. Anything you can, right? And it's a 3.5, a 3 3/4, 4 count for those 8 and 10-year-olds. Lower level high school, remind them, especially if they don't know if they're just standing there, goalie, you got to move, right? In high school, they're going to be out, but again, it gives it that second of a reset, a time, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. But it's really a 5, a 6, if that makes sense. That 20 stays on until the ball gets over that plane. When they get over the plane and have possession, very key, they have to have possession. If it's a loose ball, we have no count. An infamous, every coach has yelled at least once at the high school level, who's counting, who's counting? Nobody, sir. Coach, I have no count. Why? There's no possession. You're wrong. I'm not. It's fine. We'll get there, right? Wait until they pick it up. Once they pick it up, we then count 10 seconds on a hand count. It's tough, I'm in a chair, but I want to go out. I'm still like being weird. I go kind of out at my torso and my abs, right? You don't have to go up here and you don't have to do like at your belt. You kind of go out at your shoulder length and you do a visual 10 count until they get in. And when they get in, we point up and then we chop down to the field to point in. You want to extend that chop. That chop is for your partner more than it is everybody else, because your partner, again, the trail is doing the 20, the lead is doing the 10 in high school. So you have different things. So it is very tough, if you see my mouse, to see whether or not that player stepped on the corner or stepped over here as the lead sometimes. As the trail, you might have a great view, and if you don't chop, it's really tough to see that, especially in different conditions of sun or bad linings and things like that. And then the bonus one you'll sometimes see, we will give a mini washout. We'll give a no, just small. I'm doing it high just so you can see it, but I'll do it right at my waistline. So I do a little mini washout, and it's small. It doesn't draw a lot of attention, but if I see my partner's arm and he's kind of looking at me and he kind of tilts his head and kind of gives me the wide eye of like, Rob, do you have a touch? I can give him a little nonverbal, right? And things like that. But if he looks at me and he's still with his arm and I'm like, I chopped already, really elongate it. Take an extra second to chop it down. You can be up, you can be down, and hold it. Bernard or anybody?
Yep.
Go
I
ahead.
add two
Yep.
things. One, you won't see this very often, but let's assume it started not with the goalie with the ball in the crease, but maybe the ball was loose and a defender went into the crease and then picked the ball up in the crease. He is subject to a 4-second count, just like the goalie. He doesn't have any privileges of the crease, meaning there's no goalie interference if it's contact with a defender other than the goalie, right? But he is subject to that 4-second count. Second point is Rob was talking about getting it into the attack box. What does that mean? It means a player with possession steps on the line or into the box with the ball, or the ball itself lands into that box. Finally, a player who leaps up to try to catch the ball. If he, remember what we talked about, he is where he left from. So if he was in the box and he jumped up to touch it, and touches it, and then it goes off his stick, he is in the crease. So, in the box. So that would satisfy the 10-second count.
Ty, did you have some?
Yeah, I know you got the beeper for the 20 seconds, so like that you don't have to have the trail doesn't really have to do an arm count, but does that mean that you don't have to have possession and you still got to get it out in 20 seconds?
Yeah, so once we have that change of possession is when that 20 goes on. So if it's just a regular turnover and the defense picks it up, we'll do change of possession or reset. So we usually twirl in high school. Still, we'll do a reset and a verbal so everybody hears it, right? And then I put the 20 on, and the 20 then starts for that team. Same thing if the goalie catches it, reset. As I said, reset, beeper goes on, 4 count for the crease. Make sense on that?
Yeah, and there's a change of possession in your defensive zone. where you're trying to get it out in 20, then it switches over where you become lead and you give them 10 seconds to get in the box from that point?
Correct. So let's say, to your point, the attack is riding successfully, steals the ball from the defense, intercepts, as they should, intercepts the ball. We then have a 10 count. If they intercept it inside the box, we have a chop because they're in, because they have possession, they've satisfied the clearing count.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. EJ?
Yeah, on timeout during a clear, is the count reset?
Yes. Very good question. In the event we've had this is the tricky one. This is the stuff you learn on the field after years, and you're like, I thought I've seen everything. And then you call Vernon, and he's like, how do you not have this right? I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen it. Right? And so the weird one, it would be a new 20 because we don't know what the timer is, right? Because it's an invisible timer that's audio, right? The 10 count, we're counting the 10, but we're just going to give them a brand new 10. The timeout buys a new clock, so to speak. That's their advantage for using the timeout. On the weird one, defense, let's just make it easy. Goalie makes a save. We have a reset. We have a timer. We have a 4. I'm doing that on purpose just to say it over again. The defense gets it over. We then sometimes will point, but then the lead starts the 10 count. The attackman, because again, there's no over and back until we've satisfied that 10, that attackman goes back in the defensive half, which they can do. Coach calls a timeout. And then you go to your partner and you go, I don't know what the clearing count's supposed to be. Do you know? And he goes, it's actually a new 20. And I go, are you sure you're right? And he goes, aren't you the rules guy? And I go, okay, let's go with 20 then. And so it's 20. So no matter what zone you're in and what count you're under, you start with the zone you're in, you get a fresh clock. That's the weird part. On all restarts.
And there, Rob, one other situation.
Well, sorry, just one other comment. If you've already met the conditions of the count, right, then you don't have to do it a second time. But if you haven't met the conditions of whatever the count is, on the restart, you'll get a new count.
And the other strange, excuse me, voice is not good. The other situation could be the defender's clearing. He's starting out of that defensive box. His stick is checked, or he gets pushed. There's a loose ball push. That's a reset, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Right.
Yep. And so you'll see that too the most often. Again, it's a little easier in college. You'll see that where there's a play on, we're going to reset that count as well. In the college game, we have a shot clock that's 80 seconds, but the clearing count is the same in terms of they have 20 seconds. So if you're doing an NCAA game, at 60, the ball needs to be over the plane, over that plane. And so you'll see on TV again, they will point towards the direction they are going, the offensive direction, and they will yell under. You will usually see 2 or 3 officials yell under every single time. In the event you're in a no shot clock.
Sorry, before you get to that, Rob, and it's at 60, not by 60. It's at 60. Okay.
Correct. If you're doing a prep school game, so some of the ones that I think Williams School, I can't remember if they do it or not, but like Hamden Hall.
And all the sub-varsity prep.
All the sub-varsity prep. And what's the one I'm trying to think of? Kingswood, Oxford, up in West Hartford. Just those to name examples. Because they don't have a shot clock, last year we got them to agree the timing count, they shall go by NFHS. So it is a 20 and a 10 since we do not have a shot clock, even though it is governed by NCAA rules. We felt that the very simple context, we felt that every time you showed up to one of those games, the coaches agreed on a different rule set and we couldn't train people on the same. So we just said, let's come up with the 5 actual differences or the 4 differences and just go by that. So we'll go over that in the NCAA, but that's one of those.
And it's also on the Google Drive. One last point. This is a little bit tricky, but you may see it sometime. Player in the defensive end has the ball, is under 20, throws the ball to the offensive end. It lands or rolls through the attack box into the alley where an offensive player picks it up. Is there a count or no count?
No count.
No count.
Yeah.
The answer is there is a count because they never satisfied the 10-second count because the 10-second count never started. Remember, you start a 10-second count when there's possession in the offensive half. There was never any possession. So they can't satisfy a count that hasn't started, so there will be a 10-second count.
He loves that one. That's so in the weeds. It's great. Stripey would be proud. All right, he's back. Stripey's here to save us all. All right, a lot of you have asked me. You said, I have no idea what I got the same text like 6 times. Is great. I have no idea what is a 30, what is a minute, what is 2, what is 3. Do you just make it up? One of you said, do you just make it up? Like 5 question marks. And then I answered, because I'm a jerk, yes, we just make it up all the time. There is no rules. And I said, we'll get to it next week, I promise. And so JC's laughing on that. That is every coach's answer ever, right? God, you just make it up. Yes, coach, I am. So there are 2. We had a theme before. Don't forget your keys. You never leave your house with without your keys, phone, wallet. So don't forget your keys on the field. And keys are different elements, right? And so just stealing from that old theme. But essentially, we're going to go through both of these. We're going to do personal first, then do technical. Technicals are what I call fouls against rules. They're generally the team or the player didn't do something correctly by rule. And so there's usually a lesser foul. There's also a foul ladder or punishment ladder, meaning there's steps. So essentially, those steps go very simply. If you have the ball and you commit a technical foul, very quickly pause. If you're a basketball guy, technical foul is the least type of foul in the game of lacrosse. It is the opposite of basketball. In basketball, technicals are like ejections, right? In lacrosse, it is the normal thing that happens all the time. They were just rule or violations against the rule. So if you have the ball on our ladder, the first rung is if you have the ball and you commit a technical foul, you just lose the ball. It's no longer your ball. Possession is king in our game, so we take the ball away. If the ball is on the ground, we give you the ball because there was a technical foul. If your opponent has possession and you commit a technical foul, there is no possession to give and therefore no advantage. So then we throw our flag and you get a 30-second releasable foul. In almost all scenarios, it will be releasable. We will get into the weeds next class after the clinic on those particulars, but you can try to train your brain. The very normal scenario, I have one technical foul, I threw a flag because the other team had possession and there was a foul against them. I throw a flag, he goes in for a 30-second releasable foul every time in a normal garden variety scenario without getting into the weeds.
Rob, can you just say what you mean by releasable?
Yes, releasable, excellent job. Releasable means if a goal is scored, all releasable fouls are released. Meaning one goal, they all go. Not like hockey, one goal equals one penalty. In lacrosse, they all go.
Even at youth level?
No. Youth, now you're throwing weeds. Not fair. At youth, everything is now non-releasable. Everything. At youth. Good question. And the reason why you can remember this, John Vernon famously at Choate, we had a scenario where we had 48,000 penalties that were all releasable. One goal, 3 guys come out of the box. And a certain coach didn't like that. His name is not Mike, by the way. And John Berner was there to quote the rule verbatim. And I was like, that guy's good. He's in charge. Right? And so I always think of that. You can have a scenario. It is unlikely. One goal, all 3 penalties get cleared. Normally there's one guy in the box. That is a normal scenario that we see. We don't normally see multiple guys in the box at a time. Make sense on that? We're just starting there. We're going to get into the weeds in a bit on that. But that's the very basic primer. Then we have personal fouls. Fouls against players, meaning usually something physical, violent happens, right? It's almost always physical. They can be unsportsmanlike conducts. We'll get into that. But usually against a player or a person is how I say that. They start at 1, they go to 2, there's a 3. You then ask, what is the difference? 1 is garden variety, 2 is more egregious, 3 is flagrant, egregious ejection is our levels. So again, they're never perfect. They are subjective to that point. A player might have the same type of foul, but it is the second or third time he did it in a game. We might escalate that third foul if we deem it necessary to control the game. But normally, it's based on the play. So again, garden variety, then we have more advanced, I don't want to use that word egregious, I felt like I used it twice, and then we have flagrant, violent, extremely egregious suspense ejection type of foul is our 3. 3 is the least common that we have. They do occur. Again, usually it's about control. Sometimes 2. If a player tells you to go F yourself, it's probably a 3. We're probably past the ladder of being able to talk to that player, if that makes sense. So I'm just using that as the example. Go ahead, John.
And it's 1, 2, or 3. You can't pick a time in between, right?
Correct.
It's either 1 minute personal, a 2 minute, or 3. It's not a 1 minute and 12 second personal, okay?
And then the last part, this is actually the easier part. I know it sounds confusing. Releasable versus non-releasable. It's all in the rule. So the rule tells you what you can do or not do. So we're going to go through those now. So it seems like that's the most confusing part, but there's only certain fouls you can make non-releasable. You can't just magically make things up, even though officials do that, and that drives us crazy. But if you know the rule and you know the elements, it's easy. So with that said, the quick primer on personal fouls, and we'll get through them. Again, I then say personal fouls, and as we go through this, usually I say, I have this all of the above foul. I've called it for decades at this point, or the 17 years I've been doing this. And what that means is we all know what a foul is in sports, right? And sometimes the coach says, well, what did he do? All the above, coach. What do you mean? He was high, he was late, he also hit him with his feet off the ground, he took way too many steps, and he hit him in the rear. All the above, coach. Literally everything he could have done wrong, he did it. Why are you arguing, right? And so, again, we need to have an element that we state, right, to our partner, and then maybe to a coach if he asks for an explanation. This is what we're going to do. This is one of the activities we will have in the clinic. But the idea of we're going to still have a foul that we're going to call. It needs to be specific, and it needs to actually occur. We're not going to make something out of thin air. But when we see fouls, we generally know what they are. The kid gets blown up all the way, and the defenseman comes all the way across the field to blow that player up. High, late, leaves his feet, uses his elbow, his sticks up in the air. We know what a foul in any sport. We see that hit and we're like, whoa. That goes to my next idea of this sounds crazy, but I'm going to talk about sounds. If your internal monologue or the crowd makes a sound, it usually gets your ears raised. And if you go, oh, that usually, and we'll get into this, is usually an illegal body check, a bad hit, right? If somebody does something dumb and you go, that's unnecessary. And those sounds help us judge the difference on fouls, even internally. When you're like, why did he do that? That could be a very different foul than the foul of, ugh, right? And so think of those as we go through those two, and I'll continually make those sounds. And as I said, context matter, threshold might matter. Again, a 10-year-old getting hit really hard on the hands might be a slash, believe it or not. A prep school, top 10 in the country, player going to Division I might not call it a slash on the hands even if it's really hard, right? Especially if it's in the beginning of the game, because that's going to happen all game. Everyone's going to hit at that level. So again, my threshold might be much bigger. My context might be very different. Again, if that's that same player and we verbally reminded them, hey, you're really missing on those checks. You're super close, but you're missing. I need you to clean it up. Something super simple, right? And it still continues throughout the game, we might throw it. We'll get into slashing. That's always our number one. And with fouls, we're always thinking advantage, disadvantage, especially when we get to technicals. But again, was a player disadvantaged because of that, right? Questions so far? Cool. As we just say, I promise we will get into it. I think it's the next slide. We're going. But again, I know this is a lot. I'm not going to read all these. But again, you can communicate. Communicate with captains. Communicate with coaches. Communicate in-game. You'll find your level of comfort, right? Is again, you don't want to constantly be chatting everybody, but can you use very specific things? As you get more comfortable, you'll find your phrases you like. You'll find your exact times that you like. Same thing, I'll just use this as in a story, this is an example. Same thing, defenseman, really, really borderline. I told him, the ball goes out of bounds on a shot. Hey, 47, this is what I need from you. And just explained it. I said, I need you to be on the hands. Got it, sir. Right? That gets the message. Super clear. Nobody hears it. Partner's getting the restart. I have a chance to say it. On the flip side, also being positive. I know that sounds crazy. Perfect example. Attackman, somebody had asked this question. I can't remember. I feel like it was Wick, maybe somebody different. Attackman goes to throw that trail check as he's chasing the defenseman. Winds up, tomahawks, doesn't throw it. Hey, great job holding up. Super simple phrase, nice and short. Happened the other day, goes, oh, you saw that? Go, yeah, I saw that. Good job. I really wanted to throw it. I know you did. End the conversation, right? But now he knows where my level is. If he throws that, I'm probably going to throw a flag on him. Now he knows I don't want him to throw it, right? And so, again, context. Fourth quarter, they're down by 1. There's 10 seconds left. He's going to throw it. I'm not going to throw a flag. But in the second quarter, we can prevent it. So again, constantly communicate. When we get to fouls, there are 3 types. They're not the names of them, but they like categorizing. I like doing this for my own brain as well. We have contact fouls, we have equipment fouls, we have conduct fouls. The most common are the contact fouls, as we said, against the person. The equipment, it's the player themselves, right? It's a foul against themselves. I know that sounds weird, but think of it that way. And then conduct doesn't have to be against another player. It could be the coaches against us, it could be players against us, player against player, coach against coach, coach against player. You get the point. People involved on that. So again, that credibility comes in of making sure we call them, control the game, and then safety is also really, really important. We also call them the felonies versus the misdemeanors within their game. These are the bad fouls that we see. Just a reminder, I kind of combined these slides. US Lacrosse had these. I really like them. They all have exclamation points, which drives me crazy. I noticed that today, and then I didn't take them out anyway. But just be aware, a lot of fouls happen at the same times in a game. Even though every game's different, as we know, after goals, they're really mad or they're talking junk, right? Around the crease is a really tough area because there's a lot of bodies and not a lot of space. When the play goes out of bounds, when players are substituting after a hit, transition, players moving, right? Those are when we see it. Same thing when the momentum goes, right? When there's a big hit, know that, somebody might take exception to that hockey mentality of you got to fight me right now because it's a hit, even if it's illegal. So just knowing those scenarios within the game will help you do that. With that said, this is our list of what we have for the personal fouls that are on people. There's things like illegal equipment and sportsmanlike we'll put in there too. But again, we have these. We're going to go through each one of them. So there's not a lot when you really boil it down, right? We have 7 of them that we call. And these are the garden variety that occur and can get worse. Question so far. Good slide, right? Makes me stop talking for a second. So, cross-check. This is easy. You'll know a cross-check. Don't listen to the coach. Don't listen to the dad. Don't listen to the mom. You know what a cross-check is because we're going to talk about the elements. The elements are their hands have to be wider than shoulder. It's wide, right? Again, we're not going to take a measuring stick, but here we might be okay. Here we're definitely okay, but here to here, I'm not maybe noticing a difference, right? And I'm doing that on purpose. If he's way out, if it's a pole and he's using all 6 feet, yeah, we have an issue. But the big key is we don't want the player, like in this picture, to use the shaft of the stick as a weapon because that hurts, right? And we've seen it, not to get off tangent, but especially in the women's and the girls' game, this is the number 1 injury, is the cross-check to the kidneys and the back and the other organs. It is really devastating because you're hitting people without pads with a very hard piece of steel or whatever they make it out of. But the idea is to protect the player. We want a thrust, right? Meaning we actually want extension and we want power. It is different sometimes if that player has got it against their chest and they're trying not to hit him with that stick and that player runs into them, we're probably not calling a cross check. We want some kind of primary action by that player who is actually using it as a weapon. So we want hands apart. We want a thrust, right? Extension will also count as a thrust because now we're purposely using that as a primary point of contact, right? And again, those are the only three we're looking at when we talk cross checks. It's that simple. We want separation. We want a definitive thrust or extension. That's it, right? And so you'll see them. The most common, and these become easy to see, player goes to about to hit them, and it's this, and it's out. It's the same thing in hockey. It's the same thing in lacrosse. Where we also see them, again, plays like this, short stick defensemen will use that. Or you cross-check a guy on the crease, and you just see the hands. It doesn't have to be a lot, but you see that, and that stick is being used as a weapon. This becomes a 1 minute garden variety. We can go to 2. If if the player goes down, we don't need an injury, but you get what I'm saying. It's more egregious and more advanced. If it is really bad, that player does not get up, and you go, ugh, and you literally shake in your bones, that is a 3 minute. And every lax mom and every parent and everybody literally gasps. That's a 3 minute. You know it by the sound. Questions on cross-check?
Rob, is is there still like a big emphasis on like head, neck, like above the shoulders, basically? And like, I know we're getting into like releasable, non-releasable, and all that, but just
Yep, we're gonna have a whole slide on that. Good question. I was trying everything I could to not go into that because all I want to do is go into that. I agree with you. It's really tough. So, video on a cross check. Player comes across. We'll see it again. Hopefully it doesn't jump on you. And we'll do one more. Where are our hands? I know it's away from the camera. Where are our hands? Are they together or apart?
Apart.
Yeah.
Right? You can see him running, that they're apart, and he never really moves them the whole way. It gets worse, to be honest with you. It gets way worse. He's out 6 feet, and now when we hit him, he's still out 6 feet, right? We're going to go extension and separation. Maybe not a full thrust, but again, is he trying to dislodge the ball? Is he trying to make a regular body check, or is he just trying to get the ball? I would say no on all 3 of those. If he's just trying to get the player with an attempt to separate him, maybe from his head, and you get my point of saying that, and that is it, I'm throwing a flag, and I agree. I think what might make this more egregious, again, we don't have context of game, which matters, but look how far he runs. He does not break stride after that initial stop. He runs over 5 yards to make that hit. I'm guessing, again, just looking at players, I'm guessing maybe a little bit lower level, maybe a little bit outside of the Northeast, might be a football guy, just trying to go for that hit. I share that with the idea of you're going to see football guys who just want to make hits. We throw more flags on football guys, not because we dislike them, but because we can't simply just go for the hit unless it's a legal, clean hit. Does that make sense? Not like football where we could just level them if it's from the front, right? Next one, we have a legal body check. This is your shudder. This is your, right? You're scared, your noise that occurs. A legal body check occurs more than 5 yards away, right? From the rear or below the waist.
Or above the shoulders.
Or above the shoulder. Yeah, it can technically be above the shoulders without head and neck. We're going to get into that a different slide. A player on the ground, so meaning any body part besides their feet that is within contact in the ground, they are not eligible to be checked, right? We can still have a 1 minute on this. A lot of times we'll see elbows, we'll see high hits to the head and neck area. We take it out of just being the regular garden variety. We bring it over to the other category of head and neck. But the most normal legal body check, hitting a player while they're on the ground overly violent, we will see, especially if you watch college, the player goes down, the defenseman will wait and stand over them, and then as that player's stick becomes present, they will throw a check and usually hit the player in the stick 9 times out of 10. At high school, when they attempt to do that, they usually don't wait, and they usually smack the body or they hit the player. So we can have an illegal body check or a slash in that because that player is on the ground and they're not eligible to be hit. Go ahead, Ty.
Would this be the call for on the face-off when they get hit if they're still on the youth? I know last year the youth they changed where you can't be touched if you're in face-off position. Would this be a 1 minute illegal body check on that?
Yes, if we feel we also then have an unnecessary, which I think we're going to go to next. Unnecessary, very similar, but they are different penalties, and so we need an element. To your simple question, the answer is yes, we can have this, but we need to make sure we have the elements. The reason being is with a legal body check, we'll get to it in a second, we can get to head and neck and therefore make it a non-releasable. Same with cross check, we can move a cross check if it's to the head neck to non-releasable. A legal body check can move, unnecessary rough cannot move. There is no head and neck play to unnecessary roughness that occurs. So we want to make sure we call it correctly. I know it sounds silly, but if you say, hey, Dick, I have an unnecessary roughness to the head for 2 minutes full time, most people won't know the difference. But a coach who does will say, you just called unnecessary. You can't make it non-releasable. Go back and talk to your partner. And he's going to be right. Right? So you just don't want to get into that spot. You want to, as John Vernon always says, to the Rob Hollab of the world, I know I'm using third persons, I love game management. John loves the rules. John helps me does good game management while still applying the correct rule, because then you can continue to game manage, if that makes sense. So those worlds need to come together on things like penalties, because you don't want to get yourself in hot water. When the coach says, I don't think you're right, and he's correct when he says that, and then you go, well, that was a super, to your point, the face-off guy is lying on the ground, and now I only have a 2 minute non-releasable. The other team scores, and that kid is right back on the field 10 seconds later, right? So again, we want to think of what we can do to keep people safe and keep the game moving.
So you just said
Go ahead.
You just said that you can't have an unreleasable, not a legal body check. The other one,
unnecessary roughness.
Unnecessary
and we'll get
roughness
there.
can't be unreleasable.
Yes, non-releasable. I'll Vernon
Okay.
is going to murder you if you say unreleasable. I've said it for 10 years of my life, and so
Yeah,
non-releasable. I've said it a million times wrong. You're good. So we will get to the unnecessary. And so then checks involving the head or neck, this is now our escalation. We have another tier on the ladder, right? When we see this. So we have a cross check, we have a legal body check, we have something called spearing, so using the crown of your helmet or a helmet, like using your helmet as a weapon, right? If it's the visor and not the crown, you don't have to overly think about it. It's using the helmet as a weapon, mainly the crown, and we have the same thing in football. We do not want that. Not only can the player be injured who gets hit, but the player giving the hit can be injured. So we don't want either one of those. Then we have targeting, just like in other sports. If we feel the player is intentionally trying to injure, they have come across the field, they've told a kid they're going to get them, and then they run over the field, and they absolutely annihilate the kid. That is a 3 minute targeting. We can also eject on targeting. To go back then, that's as far as the ladder goes. To go back, we then have levels within the ladder. So we have rungs and rungs. I know it sounds confusing, but as you continue doing this, it makes sense of, okay, we have a cross check. That can be 1, 2, or 3 minutes, releasable if we think it's routine and not overly, where we can have a cross check to the back of a player that he really extends and really hits him pretty good. We can go 1 minute, and then we have a one where he really thrusts him and maybe that player stays down. And then we have the one he runs across the field and does that into that back area. That could be a 3 releasable, believe it or not. Then we say, hey, we're at the head and neck. So now we're going to upgrade these and make these non-releasable. Same as college, the levels and the language matter. And they matter because if you learn them and you use them, it makes your life 1,000 times easier because it's consistent and they're very elemental. Indirect, meaning the primary contact was not to the head, but it finished in the head. Good gone bad. The easiest way, and we call this in college a lot because it helps us get control of the game, as you see, he started a cross check on the player's back, maybe not a disadvantage, maybe not a flag, finished in the neck. Now we have an issue. Now we throw a flag, we go to our partner. Anything head and neck in 2 minutes or more we want to try to talk about real quick just to make sure we're on the same page. I have a bad follow through. It was a good cross check, gone wrong, finished in the neck. Easy. No problem. Hey, I got 1 minute indirect contact to the head, 1 minute non-releasable for a cross check. Direct is going to be direct to the head and neck, primary contact. That starts at 2. Similar to spearing, think of the same element. You start with your head and you finish with your head. It's a 2 minute, right? So even if you're doing the spearing, we can also call to tangent very quickly. We can also call the attack or offensive player for spearing. That's my favorite penalty. I don't like calling it, but it's my most notable. Everybody always loves that I call it because the attackman's going down the field and he's about to be hit and he drops his helmet. And now all of a sudden the player who's going to hit him literally gets a helmet to the face or a helmet to the body. The offensive player and the defensive player cannot use their helmet as a weapon. So he might be running down the field and he headbutts him or presents a headbutt and that player runs into the headbutt. That's the onus is on the offensive player. He needs to use a shoulder or body. You get the point. The excessively violent or flagrant, again, does not happen, but we all kind of know it when we see it. When it's overly egregious, we're already talking about expulsion potentially on that foul. With that said, we have the ejection, the slash. John and I have gone back and forth on this. For the sake of training, try to get in your heads that slashes do not fall in this category. Try to do that. And this is why. I'll explain it. The normal slash we see, yes, we see them on the legs and on the back and on the arms. We see that. But more often than not, the number one thing complained at from U7 all the way up to NCAA and the pros, he got me in the head, sir. He got me in the head. Well, did he touch you in the head or did he slash you in the head? That's a very big difference, right? And so if you accidentally hit the player in the face with your stick that's uncontrolled, we'll get into slashing, we're not going to lock it in simply because it went to the head. If the player baseball swings, different. Baseball swings are different. We might go on sportsmanlike. Those don't belong in our game. An accidental stick to the face, that a good check gone wrong, we don't want to lock in. So I am purposely over explaining this, but I try to get in your heads as officials that everything to the head doesn't mean that it's automatically a locked in. Is that the foul that occurs if a stick gone wrong that goes there, we're not going to go there. So I generally think in my brain we can't ever lock slashes. And I take that baseball example and I move it to something else because that's not part of our game. That's not routine. Make sense on that? Go ahead, Dave.
So also on the indirect, that's always non-releasable, or can that be?
Again, think of it as a bad follow through. We generally do not see them on an illegal body check to the head. We generally see them on cross checks is the most common indirect flag that we see. A cross check gone wrong. We tried to hit him correctly and we just ended in a wrong area. It's really tough in my opinion if I'm going to illegal body check, if I'm going to elbow somebody and that starts in his chest and rides up. To me that's hard because your elbow doesn't really slip. I know that sounds so weird to say, right? But it usually hits him either in the chest or it hits him directly in the head. The stick on the other hand will slide. And we normally see it, from the rear is when it slides the most. Not necessarily from the front, right? To go back to my coaching roots, as I always said, you always want to teach somebody if they're going to use a cross check as a defensive idea, right? As a short stick or a long stick. And again, just cross check hold, right? I'm trying to get my hands in camera. And I use it. I want to teach them to either go straight or I want to teach them to check down. When I teach them to check up, the chance of me hitting a helmet's very high because I'm already starting at their head and there's nowhere to go. If I start at their chest, I have room to slide. If I start in their ab, I have a ton of room to slide. I can go lower and hit them in the hip, right? And so again, you will then see in good college games and high school games, really good short stick defenders jam the guy's hips. They don't even go for their chest. They just go for their hips. And that's really good defense. I know that's a coaching point, but again, I think it carries over to officiating. Where they start usually determines where they end, in my opinion. Good question on that. I normally don't see illegal bodies for one locked in because, again, I think it's just tough to ride and slip.
Can I add one point here?
Yeah.
Another thing on the slide. Does anybody know the difference between excessively violent and flagrant? I know it's nitpicky, but let me just throw this out. Hopefully you'll remember it. If not,
Flagrant could be verbal as well.
Now, the difference is going to be in the penalty. If you use the word flagrant, it's 3 minutes non-releasable and you're ejecting the player. If you want to just give a 3-minute non-releasable, just call it excessively violent. But if you use the word flagrant, ejection goes with it. Just a good rule of thumb.
And think intention, right? On that, excessively violent doesn't have to be intentional. Flagrant is intentional. So, a couple to see here. Right, I'll kind of freeze frame it. I know it's tough to watch video on Zoom, but we see where does he start? Up high. I was just pausing so that way you had a second to look at it, right? He starts up high and he finishes high. He finishes the whole way through the hit. We have an issue with where he starts. We have an issue where he finishes. In this scenario, really no reason to continue hitting him. The ball is out of his stick significantly at that point. Defenseless player. So in college, we do not have this. In high school, we have this. The easiest way to explain this, the onus, this is no longer, I usually try to stay not mad. I feel like this group will be okay, not berate me on how society has changed. We are not 20 years ago, is just how I'll frame this. There is no suck it up buttercup anymore, is that we are dealing with people's brains and heads and injuries and lifelong stuff. Simply put, we cannot argue science. We can try, but we can't. So the onus is on the hitter to protect the hittee. It is not the other way around anymore in all sports. If you're going to hit somebody, you have to be legal when you do it, or you're going to get a penalty. That simple. So we do not want blindsides. We do not want people without possession for the most part. You can still get bumped and legally pushed and all that good stuff within 5 yards, right? We still want contact in our game. We don't want the blow up hit when the player doesn't have the ball. That's your hospital pass, your buddy pass, whatever you want to call it. We had one we used in the clinic. I don't have it loaded. The idea was goalie throws this really long clear pass, or whoever, doesn't matter. They throw a long clear pass. The attackman literally catches it and turns around, and as he turns around, literally on the frame of the video, he's getting hit. He needs a chance to see the hitter. We threw a flag, first play of the game, it was like 10 seconds in, coach didn't like it, and I said, by rule, he's got to know he's being hit. He literally caught and turned, he got his head entirely around, but he had less than a second to see that he was going to get creamed. What is he supposed to do? He's got to pull up. I'm sorry, coach. And he hit him, to the defenseman's credit, shoulder to chest. Absolutely beautiful hit. But he gave the player no chance to try to defend themselves. The person getting hit has to have a chance in the high school game. Make sense on that? Same thing where we can have it. We do not want a player, especially younger or older, doesn't matter, but younger, when they go to scoop the ball and they're actively scooping, we don't want them to get cleaned out. They can get bumped, they can get pushed, they can get boxed out, but they can't get cleaned out. Again, if we deem them defenseless, we start at 2, we go to 3. John and I talked about, go ahead.
And it's non-releasable.
Non-releasable. Again, we don't downgrade this penalty. We can't say, hey, it was defenseless, but it was a really clean hit, so I only want to give him 1. To my example, I deemed it defenseless. I said that kid didn't have a chance to get hit, It's too bad. That hit was beautiful, and I meant that, but I have to give it to non-releasable by rule. And coach said, I got it, right? And I actually stopped yelling, believe it or not. Don't confuse the words to the head as defenseless or targeting, as we said. So if you just say, oh, it was a cross check to the head and neck, it's got to be 2. It doesn't have to be. These are different. Defenseless, targeting, things like flagrant are different within the rules of just being head and neck contact, if that makes sense. There are different rungs on different ladders, so to speak, at the same tool store. They're all in the same area with striping. Targeting, as we said, I'll just be quick. Targeting, again, same types of areas, but we feel that player is intentionally going to injure that other player. That simple. There is intent, there is an injury, doesn't have to be an injury, but some type of this was really bad, and that player knew what he was doing the whole time.
The option you have there, if we can just go back one,
yep.
The option that you have on the targeting is you can give 3 non-releasable, or you can give 3 non-releasable and eject. You do have 2 choices there, but it has to be a 3-minute non-releasable.
Finally cleared out by Oberg.
So this one, I'll just give you context so you can see it. This ball is about to be turned over. White is going to run to the left of your screen, and a player in black is going to come out of the box.
Down towards the offensive zone, and it's scooped up by Feldhage, but then taken away by the Panthers. A host of 4 Panthers getting there to him. Big, stiff elbow to the face type check.
So if I can get a replay for you.
Taken away by the Panthers. A host of 4 Panthers getting there to him. Big, stiff.
Now, context is here. Black team is losing by 4. 3 minutes left. 4th quarter. He just got released from a penalty. That same player. I'm like 99% sure that's correct. But they just got out, right? They were up, a man up. He comes out of the box. He does not break stride. He hits him with an elbow in the back of the head. I think we have all the elements there. Again, we don't know him as a human being, but we're going to totally stereotype him. He might have just got a stupid penalty for hitting somebody really high. And he's really pissed about it. And he comes out of the box and he wants to take a head. And he succeeds. We probably have targeting in that scenario. You can see, this isn't perfect, but you can see the coach's reaction to the play is not very happy. It's not oh, that was just a hit gone wrong. That kind of seems very egregious. Last thing, I'm going to let it play for a second. Listen to the noise.
But then taken away by the Panthers. A host of 4 Panthers getting there to him. Big, stiff elbow.
It's both. It's both oh. That's how you know. It's stupidity, I'm saying that nicely, with a very bad hit, right? When those combine, you have something really bad. That's probably one of the worst hits by far that crew saw all season. Make sense on targeting? I know.
What are your options? What are your options for a penalty?
Why do you talk?
3-minute non-releasable or 3-minute and ejection.
Well, that could be a technical and a personal foul. And also could be like a hit from the blindside defensive player and then ejection.
Yeah, no technical. I think you mean technical in terms of basketball.
I mean personal foul rather.
Yeah. You're good. John, what do you want to add?
I was just going to say, if you determined it was defenseless, you could go with 2-minute or 3-minute non-releasable. I think there's a good argument that it's a targeting foul, and so 3-minute non-releasable or 3-minute non-releasable and ejection. And probably we would take the last one, 3 non-releasable and eject them.
And remember, this context matters. This happens in the first quarter. I don't think we think targeting. Right? Knowing what happened. Maybe we know that player. Maybe we had him last week, or maybe a different crew had him last week and we know about him. And we're not trying to hold that against them. But if it happens in the first, maybe we go 2 direct, maybe we go 3, right? In a penalty. We might still go, hey, We think he's defenseless, but maybe we don't talk targeting. I think that context help. We've all seen it, that losing team who's not happy. Slashing. This is easy. I think it's easy. Every other coach on the planet and person I've ever been on a field with doesn't think it's easy. That's okay. Slashing is vicious, reckless, lack of control. That's very important. It's not everything that touches the head. It's not everything that touches the back. It's not everything that touches the leg. It's just not, right? There is context and levels to a slash. As I said, a tomahawk, gonna be a slash. That is out of control almost every time, unless it hits perfectly. Again, remember, in our game, the chance of this player, let's say he's not tomahawking, he's just throwing a normal check in the scenario. But let's look at the defenseman. The chance of him hitting all stick, if he starts here, is 0. We count the gloves that's wrapped around the cross as part of the stick. But if we hit this slash on the inside of the stick, meaning by the cuff, the chance of us hitting a wrist, a little bit of forearm, and a follow through that might also hit his chest and his leg is pretty high. You're never going to be perfectly clean. If we are just throwing it to throw it with no chance of hitting it, that is very different than we are really trying to dislodge the ball. Again, very different level, 10 and 12-year-olds to high school and prep players. Also different levels from JV to varsity, also different levels within varsity, depending on your skill level. If that kid is just whacking to whack because he's just taught to whack, probably going to be a slash. The next question that is always asked, I just give you the FAQ since we've heard it every time. How many do you give them? There's no good answer to that. I will give higher skill players 2 to 3, but that's not perfect. Sometimes it's 1 and he smacks him in the side of the face. That's a slash, right? Sometimes he goes to make a check, misses, hits a little bit of shoulder, a little bit of side, very light check. Sometimes I don't throw it, right? You have to understand the temperature of the game, right? If that's a 10-year-old, maybe I throw it, right? Again, it's going to differ. To that point, if you talk to them, try to be careful on what you say. Not saying you need to censor yourself, but again, if it's a whack that hits the kid in the kidneys and you go, get it on the stick, everybody's going to hear that, right? It's different if it was a very close check and you say something like, I will use make sure you find stick, good check. I mix in a good in there sometimes, especially if there's 2 or 3. So when coach hears it behind me, it's not, it's got to be better, it's got to be better, it's got to be better. Well, you gave him 3 chances. Throw the flag. Hey, find stick. Good check on that. And again, find times to do it. If he's really rambunctious and you got to do it in a live play, great. Best time to do it, in my opinion, dead ball. Ball goes out of bounds, 32. Let's just be in control here, right? I like saying that word too. I know I'm giving you a lot. Sometimes I just say control. What the hell does that mean? Nobody knows. The defenseman knows what it means. The attackman knows what it means. Coach knows what it means. But not everybody knows. Hey, control here, control, right? Easy, vague, they hear it, we move on. Sound good on slashing?
Okay, 2 points.
Go ahead.
1, a brush is not a strike. So if the stick just brushes the helmet, it's not a slash. If it strikes, it is, right? So there's a distinction there. And the second thing is, can you call slashing if there is no contact?
Yes, especially at the youth level.
Yeah, you can. And it's pretty rare up at the varsity level or at the higher levels. But if it's really vicious, even if there's no contact, you can call a slash.
A good way to think about it, a baseball swing that misses can be a slash. A Superman, so think tomahawk, but his body's parallel and goes to throw it and just misses. I've thrown a Superman, not to be a jerk, but think about when it happens in a game. Team's losing, kid tries to Superman, everybody's all excited because he's a hero and trying to take heads. Nope, see you later, goodbye. We didn't make contact. Do you think he's in control? He's parallel to the ground. He's not. Go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, so I got a question. So I remember from EMLOA for at least the youth kids with I mean it was mostly wrap checks or one-handed checks. With the youth, I does that translate over? Because even if they missed it with the one-handed, we throw it,
They
especially
changed.
from U13 down.
I'll let Naramore go. They now changed it back, right?
Yes, 12U and 14U one-handers are allowed. So you're going to use your NFHS. You're going to use the same judgment on a slash. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lower
But
levels, yeah, no
totally
one-handers.
agree, Jesse. A swing and a miss, younger kids, U12, maybe it's the B squad and he's just out there swinging away. Yeah, you want to control it. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Kevin had to go York. There's York College in there. I just want to get that. Yeah, I agree. I think it was actually good, to be completely honest with you, when they just took out all one-handers, even if they missed at the youth level. I actually thought it was good, right? I think I'm a big fan. I will stay very short on this. But if you want to eradicate something, just penalize it all the time. Don't give us any subjectivity to that point. They really wanted people throwing good checks, especially at younger levels, because there's injuries, right? And just teaching people. It's the same thing with the crease. They wanted people to stop hitting goalies. They took out the crease dive for a long time, and you still see people don't dive now because for 15 years we haven't taught anybody how to dive, right? Unless you go to Duke or Syracuse, that's it. But everybody else doesn't dive, so we're good. So that's my 2 cents, but I agree. You're allowed, and again, I think at a 14, a kid who tries to throw it and is wrapping and is pretty successful, to have to throw a penalty on a kid is successful. It's disadvantageous, but there are a few more of those teams than there are the bad teams. I agree with you. Sometimes you have a really good 14U game and it's just as good as a varsity game in some towns. Good, super good question on that. Cool. So that's slashing, not overly complicated. Here's a slash. This is easy. Smacks him right in the chest, face on that wrap. Easy peasy. That one. Slams it again. Everybody's got it. Dad, come on. Yeah, we got it. We can only throw yellow pieces of fabric. What else do you want from me? Don't say that. Yeah, you shouldn't do that. Same thing, right? I know they're quick, but same idea as we said. We brought it up a whole bunch. This is really tough to throw this check still. He has all back. He has no chance of getting the stick. He's not even parallel with the player. Parallel makes it a lot easier if he's a step behind. He's 2 to 3 steps behind. There's nothing to hit but the back. That to me is an easier call because you're getting all back. Just don't throw it. And if they don't throw it, again, sounds crazy, congratulate them or tell them good job for not throwing it. Because again, that gets it in their mind because they hear the defenseman getting coached about slashes, but they don't get coached on their slashes either. So when you get opportunities to talk about the garden varieties, talk about the garden varieties in a positive way, if you can. Time-wise, we'll fly a little bit on these. I hate tripping. I'm just going to get it out of there. I think tripping's the dumbest rule ever. But tripping is a positive primary action. I think there should be levels to this, and very humble, but I'm going to teach you correctly. Positive primary action, meaning, again, if players get caught up, it is not a tripping penalty. If a player usually gets stumbles, it can still be a slash by rule.
You mean a trip?
Correct. Excuse me. A trip, if they stumble, you're right. If they get hit in the leg and they stumble, can still be a flag for a trip. But think primary action, the other way to think about it, did they have help going down in the stumble or if they fell down to the ground? Make sense on that? But primary action to the lower body, I hate tripping. I hate tripping so much. It's so dumb.
And congratulations. We thank everyone who participated. Roll round.
Just give him the ball back. I'll get off my hill. Just give him the ball back. Unnecessary, as we said. Excessively violent, holding or pushing. You blow up the picker. You run through the pick. You shove the picker. Violent contact, as you said, with the screening opponent. Deliberately violent, punching blows. I think late. Late is a very good one, a way to think about it. Technically, it can be illegal if it's outside 5 yards and it's a good hit, but it's outside 5 yards. It could also be a legal body check. I know I'm mixing these together. A legal body check if he takes too many steps, he starts running. So I think charging and hockey, we don't want him flying across the field. He wants to be within 5 yards to start. Think of punching blow. Think of a hold gone really wrong. We've now seen, I'm using college terms, but the crowbar. So the guy tries to lift and jack up the arm, but he doesn't just jack him, he throws him over to the ground. We can go unnecessary. Again, this is to the point. These are different. These are the dumb plays. I say that lovingly. The dumb plays where you had a good hit or you had a chance to not hit him and you did it anyway. That's the and that's unnecessary. We don't have a modifier to go to head and neck area on these. We can have an illegal body check that modifies, but unnecessary, we don't. So again, simple differences, seemingly the same thing, but think the extra, as Bruce Backus always says, it was just unnecessary. Did he need to do that? And the answer was no, so I threw a flag. If it was a hit, that was not a good hit, that's different category, that's a legal body check. Make sense on these?
And this is 1, 2, or 3, and it's releasable.
So late hit here, throws, gets hit, looks pretty decent, looks to the side. I know these are quick, but right, it's kind of
White is on
a
offense,
hit that's on time, or excuse me, a hit that is in the right spot.
Slow motion and notice the defender's helmet looks to see the pick.
On this one,
then he intentionally body checks the player.
Blows up
the official correctly throws his flag, and this
again to that point, we'll go over this in the clinic, but the idea that he gets his head around, sees it, he's not blindly run into the pick. If he's blindly run into the pick, picks can be ugly on blow-ups if they're really good picks, right? As a lot of the coaches in the room, good picks are contact. Good picks get the player to stop their feet. That's okay. We can have that. We can have the defenseman absolutely train wreck that kid, but it can't be intentional. JC, you got some? Are you good?
No.
Okay. I just saw you on mute. I was just trying to ask. All right. I know we're an hour and a half in here, but we'll go through technicals. These, I think, go a little bit faster. And so again, our rules here, right, they're against rules. We either turn the ball over, we either give the ball if nobody has possession, or we throw a flag for 30. Crease violations, if they go in the crease, it is a technical foul. It is a line violation. If the player goes in and the ball's loose, it goes to the defense. Assume the attackman's in the crease, right? The defensive player is allowed to be in there, can't play goalie, but can be generally in there, right? So the attack player goes in the crease, it's fine. If the goalie catches it and then he goes in, we have a technical foul. This is a little different though. We don't throw a flag because the goalie's got possession. We allow the goalie to either complete their pass outside of the crease or exit the crease. So the advantage is just, hey, you're going to get the ball back if something goes sideways, right? And that's it. Again, if you feel that it was loose before the goalie caught it, the good thing to do is just blow your whistle. We have a loose ball, technical foul. We yell this thing called play on in these. We'll get into these in enforcement, but we yell play on, and our play on should be short, especially if you watch TV. You see play ons are 1 second or shorter. They're very quick. In college, we do it because of a shot clock. I tell you to do it in high school because nothing good happens with a long play on ever. The idea is if the team can get the ball and go, you don't have to stop the play. They're good. They got the ball back. Same idea in this. If the player is in the crease and at the goalie's feet, it's probably better to just stop it, let the kid get out of there to the other point, then we can wind it and go. Fairly fast, not quick. Make sense? So same idea. We might have a play on if we are going to go no goal and the ball goes in the back of the net, and that's when you'll see we'll run in. We don't signal goal or no goal. We might have a flag or we might have a hand up. We say crease, crease, crease to one another, or we say no goal. Even in a two-man, you kind of look to your partner, and we might have something, and then we just say no goal. We have a crease. Our crease violation, we point to the crease. If it's a really big crease, we'll show you one in the clinic. Somebody on this call did an awesome one. slams as close to the ground as possible a couple times, and then points. You can match the call. Really, really big play, right? Really big calls. Offside. You're probably like, this guy's going to try to do this quickly. Yes, offsides is not tough. The tough part is trying to count moving humans while everybody on the planet yells at you that you don't know how to math. It's my favorite part of the game. They're off. No, they're not. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate that. I'm going to look at Coach Flaherty because he was one of our coordinators on a team, and that's their job to do it versus the head coach. So he's always a guy that we love. But that's their job. That's their job, just to yell stuff, and that's okay. So, again, we might not always have an advantage. That's how we start it. If a player, we had this the other day, steps on the line while thinking he should sub in, we don't really have an offside, right? Is that player stepped on the line, came back into their substitution area, there's no advantage being gained by that player making a half step. Same thing when we see as substitutions occur, player jumps over or maybe touches the very corner, we're going to talk to them. We're not going to be throwing flags because somebody touched the line, right? It must be called due to the actual line being violated, right? Meaning we touch the line or the zone going over. If his hands are in the air, the most famous one, the attackman who's chasing on that trail check jumps out of bounds on the other side of the field, we're good because he never touched in bounds, offsides. He leapt through the air and he's where he came from. When we talk about offsides, we're going to show you a field view in a second. It means there are 7 or more players in the offensive half, or 8 or more defensive players. Again, we have a goalie, so there's 6 field players plus a goalie on defense, so more than 7. On offense, we have 6. That's 7 or more than 6. The easiest way to count is by twos. I've heard every method on the planet, and everybody's agreed. It's science. Count by twos. 2, 4, 6. 2, 4, 6. 2, 4, 6. Just get in the habit. 2, 4, 6. Pair them up in your brain. Don't do the finger point. This looks terrible when I'm doing this on the field because everybody knows I'm counting. You can call offside late. Great thing to write down for any of you taking notes. Call it late. This is the normal late call that occurs. Some people don't like you calling it late. I don't care. Get it right. What you don't want to do is count once. Oh, they had too many. The ball is in flight. You blow a whistle. The ball goes in the net and go, whoop, I was wrong. We can't give the goal. We can't turn back the clock. What we can do, and we've had this in college, ball goes in the net, trail goes tweet, 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 tweet. I have 7 guys. Oh, shit. No goal. We're going that way. Easy. Everybody wins, right? Because if he's wrong and we talk to him, we count the goal. If he's right, everybody doesn't like him, but we're just not counting the goal and we're going the other way. We're super good. So take an extra second. Always count twice. Count by twos. The trail generally has responsibility, but again, depending on the play, the lead might also have more time. If it's a slow clear, you can easily start counting. One of the big things last year in the clinic, everybody asked all of the tips on offsides. Just get in the habit. You will get this by like your 10th game, I promise you. But as you get better and better, you will just count all the time. Every single time you're in settled. 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6. Offense, defense, offense, defense. You just count. And then at some point, you will realize when it's weird and when it doesn't look right because you're always counting. And you go, there's a guy not guarding anybody. That looks like too many. There's not enough guys on attack. That doesn't mean it's a penalty, but it raises our ears on that. Make sense? We'll go to this one.
The penalty area one, Rob. Last point.
Oh, yes. John maybe had that because he's correct. Offsides counts the players in the penalty area. So if they're on offense and they have a player in the penalty, they can only have 5 guys. On defense, they can only have 6 guys. 5 guys plus a goalie. So it counts wherever they are. So he's continually in the zone the ball's in, that penalty player. Very good point. So as we said, what we mean, again, visually, is you will have 6 defensemen in blue plus a goalie. So blue has 7 on the right side of the screen. Red has 6. We don't care about what's behind us. You can tell them that. That's an easy one to remember. Coach says, but, Coach, I don't look there. Coach, we count forward. Coach, I don't care. But. Coach, math is hard enough. I'm looking this way, right? It doesn't mean they should have 38 guys out on the field. Yes, you might have to turn around and call that. You get my point. Spend your time here, because if you spend your time chasing substitutes, it's never going to help, and then you're going to turn your back and always look to that. Most commonly, a coach will yell, all my coaches are smiling right now, when they yell, they have 2 attackmen, they think it's automatically because the guy's on this side. But 9 times out of 10, he's in the substitution area, he's just not there yet. That's why we count forward, so if I'm the trail, I'm looking this way, and again, if I'm the trail going left, I look this way. You can take a quick look to see, okay, I only have 2, might raise my ears, but it doesn't mean it's a flag. Always count what's in front of you, where the ball is, count it late, it's fine. Sound good on offsides? Here's a great example. Watch the player in white. We're going to try to catch him. Oh, I lied. Blue. Let's count. I think we got one more guy hanging, yep, behind the net. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not going to recount, but you can see the pole, nobody stays back for him. It's not always a defenseman that has to go offsides. It's technically this guy who should have stayed back and didn't stay back. So we penalize, if it's a flag, the person who actually went offsides. Not to get overly in the weeds, but in the scenario where if they were on defense, because they do not have possession, now we throw a flag and we wait. We have a slow whistle. In that scenario, that player, let's say, runs back onto the offensive half, coaches will start yelling at him, you can go, because even though it's a team penalty, meaning the team has too many players, we charge it to the individual. So that player cannot be called for offsides twice in a play. That player can go back and remain, essentially gain the advantage since he's already getting a penalty and stay offside. If a new player, so I don't know, I'm just going to call him number 1, goes back and number 9 comes over, we have 2 flags because that number 1 is counted in the zone. Does that make sense? I know that sounds confusing, but only that player gets the advantage of going back. The triple bonus on this, that seems like it is layered and absurd. In this scenario, that player stays on side, and then we start substituting. We don't count the substitutes as offsides, just that player still. We've had that scenario where that player stays, and it's really tough to try to get that number, but do the best you can. If you can't get the number, take the kid who's closest running off. That's what I always say. Don't just do it on the in-home. Usually the kid coming off the field, whatever that closest, just take one of the midfielders because they're going to sub out anyway. Make sense on that? One
Rob,
more. This is a good.
Sorry.
Oh, good.
Oh,
Yep.
sorry.
Good.
In that scenario, it's a change of possession. It's going the other way.
Yep.
How long are we pausing? Because
great question.
Technically, like in theory, right? Like there are 3 attackmen and 2 defensemen on the other side, for the offense. So like I know we want to get like everything set, everything, copacetic, but we're not necessarily waiting for the other team to get 3 guys back on the defensive side.
Correct.
Before that trail guy, like the head guy's probably heading up and the trail guy's pulling it in. So we're not necessarily like waiting like for, okay, now we have 3 guys, now we're going to blow it in.
Unbelievable question. I can't logically explain this to you. I can't because it hurts my brain. We blow the play in and we assume they're going to get back on sides at some point, and we're good. And we don't. Go ahead, John. But like that's what we do. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that basically you're going to restart play even though that player might still be in an offside position. the best rule thing that you'll see in the book is, and this happens sometimes with a loose ball, a player goes offside, you kill the play, you award it, you restart play, the guy's still offside. If he engages in the play after you blow the whistle, then that can be another penalty, because you're giving him a break to go back to where he's supposed to be without penalizing him. But if he engages in the play and takes advantage again, it can be another penalty. Most of the time, you can just restart and they know what they need to do, and it's not an issue.
We used to have too many men, and now we just call it offsides, right? And so it's really enveloped in that rule. And so to the same point, I remember throwing a flag, and I remember the exact game. Like, that's how much my brain hurts from that question, because I was like, they're not offside. They had 11 guys on the field, and that 11 guy didn't run off, but he didn't engage. So I'm like, how is that right? Like, he went back and played defense, and then the ball took a while to get there, and then he ran off. And I'm like, that's not fair. You know what I mean? And so to your point, like, I'm like, why? No. So I hear you. Like, my brain still hurts from that game. This is one where the attackman, to the same point, right? Attackman tries to ride here. He's the last one, steps over. No good. Again, we talk about it matters when it's part of the play. It doesn't matter, I'm air quoting, when it's not part of the play. If that attackman is being a jerk to the other defenseman and goes, watch this, and touches the line with his toe, way off of the play, we don't care, right? Haha, I got away with it. Cool. But if it's part of the play, we call it. Oh, here's the one.
It is the Duke.
This is going to be jittery for a second. It'll go fine in a second. This is the last jitter.
Stopped.
So this is the one we use for the clinic.
Who's had himself a
all right, so we should be unjittered. Black is clearing the ball. Now, we're going to have this player. I'm just going to set you up. This player is going to carry the ball over. We have this player with a stick up. We see a symbol. It is not official, but a player with a stick up usually means I'm staying back for the guy who's going to go over. That's the most common. It's not real, but we see everybody do it. Hey, I'm the guy back, right? He is calling for the pass. So I'm saying all this stuff. What is also weird, again, we are in overtime here. I'm this far side official. This pole, they ran the clear. Even though he's the best defenseman, as soon as they get the ball, he sprints down to the crease, is his play, to draw everybody to him. So we have him going deep. We have a player assumably going, and we also have a guy changing. This is a lot of stuff. I say it because we're in overtime. This call matters. This determines the game here, potentially. Now, I freeze frame it on purpose here. What do we have?
Looks like offsides.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What was weird, and we use this clip on purpose, I'm going to go back, and I'm going to have you focus on the top two guys, not the guy with the ball. Both guys sprint back to the line in an oh shit manner. Very technical when I say that. But their body language said something's wrong, and the two of them did it. One more time.
Bucciarelli.
I'll show it. Watch the bottom guy. Watch his body language, how he stutters his step, comes back. Something's wrong. That's what I say by weird. That's the easiest way to say offsides. This takes forever to get to, I promise you. You will be at the end of the season, you're probably like, I never got to it. That's okay. But at some point in your career, you will get to it. Where I had two guys, again, to overly explain this, they're standing in front of me. I have a kid with a stick up who I think should be back. He's not back. And I have a second kid going, and I have a million things. That's in my brain. That's two. I put two back here, even if they go back on sides. Now I count kid with the ball. So I'm literally doing these two. I know this is weird that I'm doing it with my hands, but I take two and I put them back here. This is my extra count. So now I'm counting fresh. I have 2, I have 4, and I looked down and saw 5. And I said, 2, 4, 6 doesn't equal 2-4-5. And I said it's offside. So one more time, kind of live. This is how quick you can do it when your brain starts counting subconsciously.
Bucciarelli. Bears trying to bring it down, but they're going to have to cough it up.
And I'll show it one more time to draw your attention to what is the coach and the parent saying.
Bucciarelli. Bears trying to bring it down.
If you can hear it, the first time he yells they're off is now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Kid's not even over the line yet. And they're already yelling they're offside. Don't listen to everybody else. Have your flags up, or your ears up, your antennas up, right? But just have it, like I said, I had 2, 2, 4, 6. I counted 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5. Oh shit, we have an offside. And it seems late, but he's only 10 yards in. We have an offside.
Have to cough it up.
Just one comment.
Yep,
Rob called that offside pretty quickly. And if you take longer, that's fine. But that was pretty fast to call.
That's the best one I have on video by far. That's the best one. That's why I show it all the time.
Don't worry about it if it takes you longer. Not a problem.
And so to that point, coach was livid. Coach was not happy. Coach literally sent us film. Coach was wrong. It happens, right? But again, like you just see stuff. And then you think all night thinking about it until you can watch the film yourself. But again, it's I know I'm very over on this, but this is the number one thing people feel that they struggle with. Ty, then Dave, go ahead.
But we're also counting defense as well, yes?
I always say, super good question. This always comes up. Usually Narramore, you usually remind me of this. Count the offense first, because if the ball goes in the net, it's more important to take the goal off the board. I can always throw the flag when the offense is settled, working the ball around. Again, this is college, so I have that luxury that it happens almost every time, but I can always throw the flag late, and it's not going to affect anything. What's not going to go well is I count the defense first. They're good. The ball goes in the back of the net. Everybody scrambles onto the field to celebrate in overtime, and I never count the offense. Do the offense first because the goal matters more. The defense, I can always throw a late flag. Super good point. Ty?
You've talked about like restarting quickly. When is an offside when they have to serve 30 seconds?
When the other team has possession. So they had the ball. So back on that flow chart, they had the ball, so now they lose the ball. If the other team has the ball and possession, then we have to throw a flag because we can't turn the ball over.
Oh, so that's like what he was talking about. Once you have to count the defense and the defensive are offside in that case. Okay.
Then I throw, yes, if the defense was offside, because now the offense, then I throw a flag. So I can always throw a late flag, and nobody's going to yell at me. They're going to yell at me, but you get the point. I can throw it whenever I want. But I can't not get that offside and allow them to work the ball around for 20 seconds. Be like they're offside. It happens. You can technically do that, and you're good, but it just looks way worse, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Illegal procedure, real quick. I'm going to spend like zero time on this because you're going to be thinking about literally everything else on the planet besides this. This is not a actionable call, and I say it in this. I always explain what it is. Don't just do this. This is the worst. Coaches don't like this. Parents don't like this. If I just go tweet, point, nobody knows what it is. If they're playing without it, there's a delay game. We have a symbol for delay game, and verbally just say what it is. Hey, playing without, and I'll still give this the symbol because this is my catch-all symbol, but I'll explain it. Because the worst thing you can do is give this, and then all of a sudden coach doesn't know what it is, and he's screaming at you because he thinks it's something different. So you can take an extra second. Hey, the player cannot be out of bounds, and again, this is kind of onus is on you guys to read these within the rules, right? But simple as, hey, the ball didn't go out of bounds. We were playing from out of bounds. That's a different thing, right? So if I just, instead of just going, we're going that way, that might change what we do and things of that nature, where we award the ball differently or other items like that. Illegal screens. This is a massive emphasis in the college game. I, again, think it's fairly simple at the levels you're going to be doing this year. you just need to be, it's just like basketball. You need to be within your frame. You need to be motionless. You need to be standing up and down. Your stick needs to be within your shoulders as well. You can't lean into it. You have to be set when there's contact. We call illegal screens when there's contact. If they simply have to go around you and it's wonky, we don't call it unless it's like super egregious and you're doing this, right? And like, we might call that, but you don't see that very often. When you get to higher levels, it becomes more different because we're doing what we call box picks and slip picks and all those seals and everything else. Go ahead, John.
Don't call it unless there's contact.
Right? Like, yeah. Like, I've never seen that one, but that's technically, don't do that. Super simple. Leans into it. Easy. Probably like, this guy goes way too fast for me. You can see he leans in. He started leaning here, leans into it. Okay. That wasn't moving. That's the next thing. Holding, I think fairly easy. You can't hold, pin, or John knows all of them. Pin. Oh God, what do you got? Hook, pin, hold your opponent. You just can't. There are legal holds. Remember that within 5 yards, equal pressure. We can have holding, right? Is that this is, again, advantage versus disadvantage. Somebody is trying to run. That's kind of your trigger in your brain. Somebody's trying to run and you're not letting them run. That's no good. Or he's trying to move, right? And you're restricting his movement to a manner that is disadvantaging him. What we will often see too, holds get called when the stick gets around the neck and it is not violent and he lifts the helmet in any manner. We call it hold even though it's around the head and neck. Again, we feel there's a level between inadvertently getting in there and actually being violent. That goes back to my other point on trip. There's no level to that point of making somebody stumble versus knocking them over. That's my argument. Again, levels matter, right? Where it's supposed to be equal pressure type of deal. Remember, as you get younger, we get massive disadvantage in height. Not saying that college and high school don't have that, but you have massive disadvantage in growth levels. A massive guy holding a tiny guy might be a much stricter hold call when that little 4-foot attackman can't run because the guy keeps using his stick with a lot of pressure. We might call it a hold versus in a high school level, we might expect him to kind of run through it type of deal. Again, if there's no possession, it's just we're going to give the ball back to them. That's most common in scrums and box outs. If there's possession and there's a hold, we're going to have a flag. Most holds occur on the defense. We can have a hold on the offense. The most famous one is a chicken wing, as we call it. The guy pins his stick underneath his arm. We see that all the time now. It happens. They're very clever about it. You can call hold. It's just a turnover because the offense had the ball. I'm just going to skip for time. Pushing, same thing. Pushing any kind of, added force from the rear. We're going to have normal pushes. This becomes extremely subjective and difficult to call because, again, you're trying to determine what is side and what is back. And very often, again, if we feel back of shoulder, anything towards the number, this is a bad example because I don't have really good jerseys, but kind of think of that seam on the jersey. And behind, we usually have a push. Think of, again, the easiest way to try to think of it, where is his feet? Is his feet behind or is his feet trying to be equal? If we're trying to be equal, we'll usually give him the benefit of the doubt. Players don't like that because they still feel they got hit from behind. Remember, we can also have pushes that are both. I know I'm throwing wrenches at you, but the idea of I have one hand on his hip and one hand towards his back, which one's actually pushing, your guess is as good as mine in any given play. It's a dynamic game, but just realize we can be that really tough. What have you called? What's the advantage? What's the disadvantage? Front and side is legal. Also within 5 yards is legal. What you'll also see in upper levels, if we feel it's a hit outside of 5 yards, even if it's a bigger hit, we might call pushes even if they're from the front sometimes. You also see that in scoops in the college game. We don't have a real good way to, if you're scooping, you're still eligible to be hit, but if it's bad, a lot of times we'll just call it a push. So I say that, not saying that we should always do that, but those are reasons why you see them of we don't have a mechanism to give them the ball back when they get shoved as a scooper and things of that nature. Interference, same idea. Ball is outside 5 yards. you're seeing more on TV games. They want us to call interference, where you're seeing they're pushing the picker or you're seeing the defenseman. The most common one you're going to see is something on the crease when the ball is outside. They're whacking each other. You can obviously call it a slash, but something like that. He knocks his stick out of his hands. We might throw an interference. Also, the most common we see is the person picks up the ball and the other person on the same team is still engaged in that ground ball pickup. So again, once the ball is then picked up, we can no longer legally interfere with a player within 5 yards on a loose ball, if that makes sense. So those are the most commons. You're going to miss them anyway in your first year. It's totally fine. We'll get them all as the veteran official for you. You miss all of those. It's great. Just get the big ones, the felonies, as I said. Stalling, four goals or less, team ahead, last 2 minutes, high school, needs to stay within the box area. We have a stalling mechanism if we feel we're not going to cage. Let your veteran official do that. We have conduct fouls. So if we feel it's not egregious but is not sportsmanlike, usually a comment directly to us, we can turn the ball over. We try to teach you, this is part of the ladder, so we want to try to use these first before we explode, which happens. Easiest one to call is we have the person gets the ball and they make a comment, or they, I don't want to use this word, but I'm using it, taunt, right? They turn back and go, ha, 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 ha. And we feel the game's about to get out of hand. Tweet, tweet, tweet. We have a conduct foul on white. The ball goes this way. It saves you from throwing a flag. So again, we can do things when they have the ball.
And remember, conduct foul is a technical foul, not a personal.
Correct. So they're technicals. They're releasable. Stripey's back. He's keeping the train on the tracks here. Again, our ladder. I'll go through these and I'll just do the penalty. I know we're over, so at any point you got to jump. I'm just going to do these so they're on video at least for you too, so we can get everything in before the clinic. The ladder, as we say, we're going to go with, in sportsman's the big one, so we want to try to not go to there if we can't. We can take the ball away on a conduct. We can throw, if the other team has possession on a technical, we now throw our flag. We can then go to a 1 minute. We can go to 2 or 3 minutes on unsportsmanlike conduct. Within the high school game, if you give the same player or same coach 2 unsportsmanlike conducts, it's an ejection. So just be aware of that. We also have the power to disqualify or DQ players. That means foul them out. That's an important tool if we need it, is that if we have a chucklehead, but he's not being egregious and flagrant, and he's just being really dumb, and we already have him at 1 or 2 minutes, and all of a sudden we can throw a 3-minute penalty. We can't make it up, but you get the point. If we have a 3-minute, we can now foul them out of the game. 5 minutes of personal. Technical fouls don't count. So we have foul out mechanisms, and then ejections. The reminder is it is a bonus of it's that game plus a game for a player, and it's that game plus 2 games for coaches. So we're not saying to not eject. If there is an ejectionable foul, like if you get bumped or touched by a coach, that is an ejection at any level, right? They come on the field and they touch you, eject them. We don't care. You don't have to start with that. But if we can figure out ways to use the ladder before we explode and go to ejection, that's what we'd like to do. Make sense on that? Same thing, you can correct errors. If you mess something up, just go to your partner and ask them. The 2 examples I'll give you quick, we did this in a college game. Same thing, where we thought a penalty was non-releasable and the bench had it as releasable and the kid was on the field. And we said, that's not right. And we said, hold on, let's just fix it, right? And we fixed it, and that was the end of it. And coach said, I don't know. Coach, we're fixing it, right? Other one, same scenario. We had those face-off players that are within the face-off. Then we had an attackman in the attack box who released early. I was chasing the play. I saw he came out of the box. I blew the whistle. The ball ended up going out of bounds at the same time. My partner had called possession on me. Called it a little early. It's fine. We got together and he goes, I did call possession. I go, okay, then we have an out of bounds. We're going to ignore that technical foul. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a big stop sign. We're going to tell everybody, we made a mistake. We're fixing it. Everybody gets the sub. We're going to reset the game. We're going to be as slow as possible when we do this. And everybody's going to know that we messed up. It's okay. And we're going to get it right. And that's it. And everybody's happy. And that's the end of it. And you move forward. And you're good. To the Dave's point, I put 2023 because this is when it changed, just for reference in our brains. All penalties at the youth level are full-time non-releasable. All penalties, even technicals. Everybody serves all their time. So if you do one, great. I'm just going to show you this. I should have taken these animations out. I'm going to show you this one and end on this one, because this is the last thing your brains. I know, Ty, you wanted to cover this, and I'm sorry it's 2 hours late than what I promised you. But this is our penalty sequencing. This is super important. This is on YouTube. This is on the slide deck. If you want to take a picture of the screen, you can. We did that last year. Be my guest. This is what your brain has to remember. There are other ones out there. I like this one. This one's cleaner to me. And so, again, we start thinking what we do. So anytime, this is the easy part, we're going to start the easy ones. Anytime we have a personal foul, what do we see next to in the blue box? Personal foul, personal foul, personal foul. What's the thing in common?
Flag.
Flag, yeah.
You throw a flag. Every personal foul serves time, even if they serve a goal. Every single personal foul gets a flag, and it serves. What we don't see is a whistle. So if it's a loose ball, or the team that has the ball commits the personal foul, we blow a whistle because we stop the play. The other team has the ball, and there's a personal foul. We throw a flag and we wait. And then there's conditions. I'm going to lie, and we're just going to go through the conditions. There's conditions that then we kill the play and blow our whistle. On a technical foul, we have 3 different things, and this gets confusing. If it's a loose ball, we do a play on. We allow the team about a 1 Mississippi to try to get the ball. And if they don't get the ball, kill it and give them the ball. That's it. Easy peasy. If the team in possession, technical foul, same as a personal, we blow a whistle. You don't have the ball anymore. And if a team commits a foul while they're in possession, so think of a push with possession, and the team continues to have the ball, same thing as a personal, we throw a flag and allow the play to play out. This is normally what trips you up as a newbie, is you either don't know to throw a flag or you blow a whistle early. So the best thing to generally do is let the play roll a little bit. And the reason why I say that, as you get better at this, because I can kill the play for you as your partner, but I can't unwhistle your play, if that makes sense. I can't take your whistle back, but I can always go, well, that was a play on lasting 38 minutes. I'm going to kill the play now, right? I got you. What do you got? And our last one.
Go ahead. I'm not going to go into details with this, but just understand this chart doesn't exactly apply to goalkeeper interference and crease violations. They have their own rules, and they deviate a little bit in some of this. So you can look that up if you want to research that, and we can answer questions about that another time, but just to let you know.
Stripey's got a flag. Cool dude. I promise I'm ending. This is it. Thank you for staying with me this long. This is absurd. So what is Goodies? Goodies is our acronym that we use. And you're probably like, I'm never going to remember that. Somehow, some way at the clinic, and I never remember these. I can still name these off the top of my head. I don't know why. Somebody's done a good job just drilling this into our heads because we all use it. Why we stop the flag. So in this game, it is a little odd that, again, just like hockey, we will play forever unless one of these conditions occur. So when you throw your flag, unless the team that committed the penalty has the ball, take your whistle off of your finger. I got mine here. This is a good newbie trick. You take your whistle and you put it in your hand. Put it in your hand so you cannot blow the whistle. And then when it's going to occur, you just take it, and you can't really see, but you can use your thumb area, right, and then blow it. And I put it in my mouth. But it's really good to train yourself instead of being like, flag, okay. And we see a lot of new guys that throw a flag and they're like this, especially our basketball guys, right? And they're ready, and they're just waiting to blow it. Just give it a second. Take it off your hand, hold it, and you're good. I still do it in college games. I literally take it off my hand. And it's just a good way to think about it. So what can kill it? I know you can read. A goal, a foul by the offensive team, the team that has possession. If it goes out of bounds, the defense gains possession. That's one of our most common besides a goal that we see. Again, if the ball is on the ground and loose, We don't kill it. If we had a flag down with possession, then it becomes loose. We don't kill it. They actually have to pick the ball up. So wait until they pick it up. That was different between the books. It is now the same as college. Similar to hockey. I know I keep referencing other sports, but you just touching the puck doesn't count. You actually have to possess it to blow the whistle. If it's really contested, we might really err on the side of just killing the play as quickly as we can to that point if they're absolutely smacking each other in the whole 9 yards. If there's an injury, if a period ends or we lose equipment, or if we have a second foul on defense. And the last one is tricky. What we want to allow to happen if the defense has a second flag, and the context is at the end of a game, we don't want somebody getting teed off on. 1 flag, 2 flag, 3 flag means to have it at the end of every game. So if you have a first flag and then a second flag on the defense, regardless of what player it's on, we kill the play except when a scoring play is in progress. What you can think of, I'm going to reference a different sport, stay with me, is going towards goal. Think of the ladies' game and the fan. That angled that comes out of the crease. They need to be going towards the net. We don't have an exact diagram, but I use that 8-meter arc as what my brain thinks of that's towards the net. As soon as they turn away from goal or they go behind goal, we're not good. If they start behind goal with the flag, we're going to allow them to come up, but as soon as they go outside of that critical scoring area in the ladies' game, we're done. I know that's the most confusing, but to me that's the easiest way because all the fields have the same markings. Just using those marks of that's towards goal, and that's what that game actually uses. Questions on anything? I'm done talking. Thank you so much for hanging in there. I think you're all asleep on me. It's totally fine.
And
No,
Rob,
I know
we're going to do the youth at the clinic, but there's in youth boys lacrosse, U12 and U14, excuse me, add another G. So as soon as the ball hits the ground, not on a shot. So if the ball just falls out of a stick and you've got a flag down, slow whistle in youth, ball hits the ground, kill the play. Not on a shot. That's the only difference.
Excellent. Dave, did you have some?
What I like to do, I have like a cheat sheet. One side I have technical fouls, like a ward or a push or a hold, just on the cheat where I keep my scorecard. Other side I have my personal fouls, just like your top 5. If you can learn those during your first season, that's good. That's just a tip that I always use. I have it in my scorecard, the fouls or personal or technical.
Yeah, that's a super solid point. Like we said, we purposely went in order tonight, right, on the most common things you're going to see, and then we kind of really raced through the things you're not going to see. Like you said, Dave just mentioned like freehand or, what we call warding off and things like that of don't rack your brain with those. You're going to miss those, and we know you're going to miss those. You're going to be with a veteran official. The big thing is we don't want you missing the goal. We don't want you missing the out of bounds. We don't want you missing the blow-up hit when the kid's laying on the ground. The ward we can live with. Coach might not live with. We don't care about him, right? But either what's going to happen is you're going to miss it. It's going to have no impact on the game, and the game is going to continue to be played, and everything's going to be fine, or your partner's going to get it for you. And a lot of times when you're new, your partner is going to call 2/3 to 98% of the game. And it's going to happen. And that's okay. That's what they're there for. Anything else from anybody? All right, you go back to your lives. I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you so much. I appreciate